And welcome into this edition of Acap Today for the week of September 19th, 2022. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. On this week's edition of Acap Today, we're going to talk with a local school nutrition director, as well as the representative from Full Plates, Full Potential about the interesting and exciting news of school lunch continuing free for all Maine children and what the impact that has on children across our state. We're going to also talk about some of the innovative practices and what comes next for school lunch and nutrition folks across the state of Maine as they ensure especially children are not food insecure. We're going to get to that great conversation in just a little bit, but before we do that, we're first going to turn to the news and information that you can use again for the week of September 19th, 2022. And we do that by sharing with you first and foremost that we had a tremendously successful harvest, a harvest success at GB&D Pelletier Farms on September 9th. What a great day that it was indeed. We enjoyed picking over 3,000 5-pound bags of potatoes. That represents over 7 tons of potatoes that will be distributed across Aroostook County through a network of community cupboards and food pantries countywide. We are so grateful to the over 180 children from Fort Kent Elementary School who comprised of the 250 volunteers who showed up that day in true community spirit to hand harvest the field at GB&D Pelletier Farms up in St. John. A special thank you to the Pelletier family, to George and his family for just a tremendous day and for all that they did to help put food on the tables of very food insecure county households. So thank you to all of the volunteers, the partners, the community project. We had our artist there, Gert Thibodeau, who was actually harvesting herself and picked the 2 bags that were presented to Senator Susan Collins' staff, Representative Tricia House, that are on its way to the White House. So we'll look forward to getting that picture of the senator presenting the potatoes, the Norland red potatoes, to the chef at the White House. As soon as we have that photo available, we will pass it along to you. But again, thank you to our partners, GB&D Pelletier Farms and NEPCO of Presque Isle Northeast Packaging Company, who actually printed the beautiful bags with Gert Thibodeau's design on them. Moving on to other news, the corn maze is in full swing at Gons Berry Farm, celebrating Acap's 50th anniversary. There you see the design on the left of your screen, and the center of the design, which is the Acap 50th anniversary logo with Acap's 200 employees right in the maze, courtesy of Derek Lamont, who took a beautiful aerial photography and video on the day of the ACAP Agency Day when we had all employees there. We are encouraging all folks to go out and enjoy with their families the corn maze and learn more about ACAP's programs and services at Gons Farms on the Fort Fairfield Road in Caribou. It's a great day, family fun and adventure, and an opportunity to learn more about our agency as we celebrate our 50th anniversary. We also want to remind folks of some upcoming activities. We had one just last week, which is the expanded preschool partnership program that we are having with several new county school districts this year. We held an event in Fort Kent last week for community leaders and others to gather to celebrate this new venture at Fort Kent Center. We have a few more coming up. We also held, we're going to be holding them in October, the 18th of October at the Caribou Center with RSU 39. The Limestone Community School, we will celebrate at their community school on the 20th of October, and at the Van Buren District School on October 25th. If you're in those communities and are available, we'd love to have you join us and see the new preschool partnerships in action. Now, beyond that, this week, as a matter of fact, this Wednesday, we are going to be celebrating in Crystal with homeowners Roger and Shirley Smith on the completion of their mobile home replacement project, which was done in part supported by ACAP, as well as the State Community Development Block Grant Office. We will be at 296 Crystal Road in Crystal. And for those of you who would like to join us to see Roger and Shirley Smith's new mobile home that they also took a part in ensuring was funded, we encourage you to come and celebrate the culmination of that very exciting project for this couple. We also want to remind folks that our home buyer education course, our next one, is actually scheduled for this weekend. It will take place beginning at 8 a.m. and it's all held virtually. It's an 8-hour home buyer education course that's actually taught by industry professionals as well as ACAP's home buyer education instructor, Don Whipke. It's held in an educational, non-sales oriented environment. And there are a number of, in addition to the benefits of learning about the home buying process in that neutral environment, there are a number of other benefits, including the receipt of a certificate of completion for home buyer education, which can be presented at local Maine state housing lenders for special rates. There's also the fact that local lenders, realtors, and title companies do participate in the live classes to help provide you with information about the home buying and its process. And of course, being eligible for completing the class for up to $3,500 through the Maine Housing Advantage program that could be used toward closing costs or down payments. So some great incentives there to participate in ACAP's home buyer education class. And also, we wanted to let you know that the community closet at ACAP 771 Main Street that provides 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week access to the local clothing that is donated by folks is in need of some volunteers. We're looking for individuals to help us keep the closet organized, help hang clothes, cycle clothes out into the closet that's donated by individuals. It does operate on just like our community cupboard nearby, a give what you can, take what you need principle. So we have people dropping off clothes and picking up clothes at all hours of the day, and we are really in need of some help to just hang and organize the clothes in the community closet. If you are interested or know a group that might be interested in helping us take on this chore, please contact Kim Garrett-Michaud at kgarrett-michaud@acap-me.org or by calling her at 764-3721. That's extension 246. We also, as we are heading into the colder months of the year now, we've had some warm days, but also some chilly nights that remind us that winter is just around the corner. The Home Energy Assistance Program is taking applicants, including new applicants for this year. You can see the income eligibility guidelines there on your screen. With the cost of fuel and the anticipated harsh winter coming our way, we are encouraging folks who think they might qualify to certainly apply for this program today. You can call us at 764-3721 or go to info@acap-me.org to leave your name and phone number so that we can get back to you to schedule an appointment for the Home Energy Assistance Program for this season. The HEAP application is completed during a HEAP appointment. So when you have a scheduled appointment and then you are required to get some documents back to us, it typically takes 2 to 8 weeks to process that. But we also have the opportunity to deduct some out-of-pocket expenses, including medical expenses in the 12 months prior. That can help make some folks eligible that might not otherwise be eligible just on the surface of the income eligibility guidelines. So it's worth a call. Give us a call here at ACAP. You can call the fuel emergency or the fuel line directly at 768-3053 as well. We also wanted to pass this along, as we have been over several weeks, that Maine's collaborative, or workforce collaborative, I should say, including ACAP and several other community partners statewide, are continuing to offer these special training sessions that include interviewing tips and tricks, making career choices, important skills such as resume and cover letter development, and job preparation and retention skills, as well as how to best navigate job searching and hiring in that process, especially for individuals with a criminal background. If you would like to participate in these courses, they're all offered remotely. Go to the ACAP website under the Workforce Development section, and you can register for those classes or find more out about those classes right there on that site. We now turn to our COVID-19 news and information you can use corner, beginning by sharing with you that this information may be dated. So please, folks, excuse me if at the time of taping the information has changed now that you're seeing this program. In that COVID levels are now at green or lower levels, but we are still continuing to encourage everyone 6 months and older who has not been vaccinated to be vaccinated, including those who are wanting to be boosted and haven't been boosted at this time. If you need any assistance at all registering for a vaccine appointment, call us at 3721 at the office, and we can help arrange and find you where there's a vaccine appointment nearest you. There's also a free vaccine ride program available so that transportation isn't an impediment. And you can certainly call the Department of Health and Human Services at that 1-855-608-5172 number at the bottom of your screen. They ask for about a 48-hour in advance notice so that they can get a dispatcher ride out to you in a timely fashion. We also want to share with you that the free at-home COVID-19 test, especially as kids are now headed back to school or are back in school, is available, and it's a good idea to maybe have some on stock in your household. If you don't, you can go to covidtest.gov and order now 3 sets of 4 free at-home tests. It will cycle your address, but they are recycling it somewhat frequently. So go to covidtest.org, or if you haven't gone to the site accesscovidtest.org, that is also a resource for you. And also in COVID news, COVID exposure guidance has changed in recent weeks. If you were exposed to the virus that causes COVID-19 or have been told by a healthcare provider or public health authority that you were exposed, there are several steps that you should take regardless of your vaccination status or if you've had a previous infection. First, watch for symptoms for those 10 days, wear a mask around others indoors for 10 days, test 5 days after exposure or sooner if you have symptoms, and if you test positive, follow isolation guidance. They want you to also take extra precautions for 10 days when around people more likely to get very sick, so those who are immunocompromised and otherwise health vulnerable. And we also remind you, if you are asked to isolate because you do have a COVID-19 positive diagnosis, there is free help available to help you isolate in quarantine. That includes grocery meal delivery and other services. You can call us at 764-3721 to inquire about that, or you can actually sign up for those services through the Department of Health and Human Services COVID section of their website for community supports. You can also have, if you know somebody downstate, you can help have them sign up, and their local CAP agency can do the same services that Acap is doing up in this area. And finally, in this week's news and information that you can use, if you or your family needs assistance, we are encouraging you to contact a navigator at Acap. If you're not certain what that assistance might be, this is the place to call. If you're just challenged with something right now and not sure what those resources are, again, this is the great number to call at 764-3721, and a navigator can help align you with the appropriate services that you need to get help. And as we mentioned at the beginning of this week's edition of Acap Today, we are joined today by 2 guests who are going to talk about a very important topic. We've been talking a lot here on Acap Today in past episodes about food security across this region. And we're going to elevate that today and also be a little bit more specific in food security for children, sometimes our most needy population in terms of challenges with food security here in the state of Maine. And I'm so pleased to be joined by a return guest to Acap Today. It's been a little while since we've had her, but Korsen is the Advocacy and Advocacy Director at the Full Plates, Full Potential. There's something else to that title too that I'm forgetting. Implementation, correct?
That's right. Yep.
That's right. Advocacy and Implementation Director. And we're also joined by a first-time guest here on Acap Today. Melaine Lagasse is the School Nutrition Director for the Valley Unified School District, which includes the Madawaska School Department, SAD 33, and MSAD 27 in the Fort Kent area. So we're glad to have you on your first episode, Melanie. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anna, I thought we'd start with you and sort of getting a little bit of a lay of the land, because we spoke with you sort of in the height of the pandemic, if you will, and things have changed. Programs that were available at the height of the pandemic maybe aren't available anymore. Where do things stand with food security programs for the population, and particularly youth, which I know is a passion of your organization at Full Plates, Full Potential?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. It's really great to be back on Acap Today. I'm so glad to be back here, and with Melanie, especially. The work that Melanie does is so important here in our state and in Aroostook County. So as you mentioned, during the pandemic, there was a lot done to address the high rates of food insecurity across the nation. And that, of course, impacted families and children here in Maine as well. So school meals were provided for free. So the federal government was allowing school meals to be served at no cost to all children, regardless of their household's income. And that's a really important policy. You know, here in Maine, we have a very high rate of childhood food insecurity. About 1 in 5 Maine kids doesn't have reliable access to nutrition. And school meals are one of the best ways to make sure that kids can rely on school breakfast or on breakfast and lunch at least 5 days a week while they're in school. But during COVID, when schools had to close their doors and switch to remote learning, and then when kids were back in school last year, the federal government was allowing these meals to be served at no charge. Now that federal policy has gone away, and thankfully here in Maine, we're picking that up. We're not going to go back to the way things used to be. Instead, we're going to continue serving school meals at no charge to all students, which is really important and very historic. So we should all be very proud to be Mainers this school year.
Indeed, and Melanie, I'm imagining that news was music to your ears, because I know that as we were talking, you've seen a difference in school meal participation as a result of some of the pandemic era programs, and to see this opportunity for children to get, with no questions asked, a free school lunch is something that I'm assuming, applauding.
Yes, it's something that we've been working for a couple of years. I've been working with Anna at Full Plates, Full Potential. We talked, actually, I think we both testified in front of the Senate and said how good of a program it would be for the children to be able to eat for free at no charge, because Maine is a no charge state. And it was well received, and it continues to be well received. You don't have to worry when you send your children to school. You don't have to worry about accumulating a lunch bill, or your children not being able to eat because they owe lunch money, or there's plenty of options for those children to eat. I have a huge array of things that they can eat during the course of a day. So if they don't like what the main meal is for that day, they have options.
I want to talk about that with you and some of the innovative things that you're doing. You were chatting with me about that before we started recording as well, and I want to hear some more about that in just a bit. But first, tell me about the impact that you have seen, the difference that you have seen in the time period since, really when folks were coming back from the pandemic, compared to what it was like before in terms of meal participation, and some of the things that maybe were happening that folks who aren't engaged in school districts and don't necessarily see this, that were happening, where children weren't maybe necessarily getting the nutritional intake that they would otherwise need, and in part how this new no charge lunch policy is helping that.
So prior to the pandemic, a lot of children would not eat. Like, they would bring their lunch from home, or they would not eat because they just weren't sure if that was okay with mom and dad. Now, with the no charge lunches, everybody comes through the line. You're not singled out, because nobody knows if you should be free or reduced, or you have to pay full price. None of those things matter anymore. You go through the line, you get the same meal as everybody else.
And Anna, that's right directly in line with not only your organizational mission, but exactly the name of your organization, Full Plates, Full Potential. I know that you were involved, along with Melanie, in the advocacy efforts to bring this change about. But what does it mean as an organization who's committed to ensuring that children are well fed so that they can make their full potential, to know that this is happening, and to know that you were a part of advocating for it?
This is really exciting, Jason. I mean, as Melanie pointed out, there has been historically a lot of stigma associated with relying on free school breakfast and lunch, and that can prevent kids from eating. And so that barrier of feeling shame in the lunch line was huge for too many kids. And there were studies that showed that students who maybe weren't getting anything else to eat during the day would choose not to eat, even though they were hungry, because of that shame and stigma. And so we knew, all of us at Full Plates and all of our partners knew that removing that barrier would have an enormous impact on students in Maine, especially the kids who need those meals the most. And so, school meals have been the only part of the school day that anybody's expected to pay for, which creates this divide in the school cafeteria. And that just never made any sense. And so, just like your books, your bus ride to school, the desk you sit in, kids can now go to school in Maine and get school breakfast and lunch, which is a basic need and will help them learn and grow and thrive. And as you said, reach their full potential. So we're absolutely thrilled about this policy.
And Melanie, I know that you've been very active in terms of not only a school lunch program during the school year, but also in the summer months. Does this benefit extend into the summer months in terms of a, no questions asked, free, no charge lunch policy?
Yes, all children 18 and under can eat for free in the summer, and we don't take applications or anything like that. You come in and you can get your meal. At the beginning of this past summer, the waivers had expired, and it did cause some issues because a couple of my school districts had never had the summer meal program prior to COVID. So the parents were not understanding that you had to bring your child in. They thought it could be just like a pick up and go, like it was prior. And then about 10 days into the summer meal program, Congress put the waivers back into effect, and that increased our numbers immensely in that school district.
That's great. So when you hear that, Anna, because I know that in a lot of your work, that summertime period or even school break period was sort of that really challenging period of time for many families. And when I think you most worried about, there was when there wasn't a school lunch option or it wasn't available to folks, certainly not for free. What are your thoughts about that sort of year-round perspective?
Yeah, the summertime is often one of the hungriest and most stressful times for kids who rely on school breakfast and lunch during the school year. And there are a lot of barriers in place with all of these child nutrition programs. Being federal programs, there's a lot of guidelines. I'm sure Melanie could teach a whole class about how many guidelines and regulations these programs have to adhere to. And what we saw during the pandemic was that the USDA removed a lot of the red tape and got rid of a lot of the barriers that kids and families face, including in the summertime, a parent could just go pick up a meal and bring it home for their kids. They didn't have to bring their kid to a meal site. Meals were being delivered door to door. There was a lot of flexibility allowed, and it meant that more children could eat those meals that they really, really need. And as Melanie shared, that flexibility, that waiver was extended through this summer. Unfortunately, that's going to go away again, and we're going to go back to the way things were. And so there's still a lot of work to be done at the federal level to make sure that we're not putting up these huge barriers in the way of kids getting the food they need. And so, we still have a lot of work to do, and we're still very committed to making sure that kids have access to food, not only during the school day, also after school, on weekends, vacations, and during the summertime. So, we can't quite say, all right, we're done at this point, but School Meals for All is going to make a huge impact on kids, but there's still more to do to make sure that year-round Maine kids have access to all the food that they need.
Before we go back to Melanie and talk about some of the unique things she's doing, including some farm to table work and some other great initiatives, I wanted to get that perspective from you, just continuing that thread that you were talking about there in terms of what are some of the next things on the radar for Full Plates, Full Potential, and where you're sort of moving the work to now that this big item has been checked off the list, and recognizing that there's still work to do.
Yeah, there is a tremendous amount of work still to be done. So our main focus right now is that even though school meals are free for all Maine kids, it's still really important that families fill out their school meal benefit form. So, and this is a little confusing because if a meal's free, why should I fill out this form, share my personal information about my household income if my child's going to get a meal either way? So we're really focusing on trying to make this as, kind of tamper down some of that confusion because schools use that household income data to make sure that they're getting enough federal and state funding to support their educational programs, to support enrichment programs. It can help pay for some teachers' salaries. It's really very, very important for the school district that families continue to fill out that form. Additionally, that helps to bring federal dollars into the school nutrition program. So Without that household income data, Melanie won't be getting the right amount of federal reimbursement to support her program, so that she can keep doing all of the incredible, innovative, important work that she's doing. Also, in order for a school to provide a summer meal to kids or an after-school meal, they need to know what the need is in their district. And so that household income data is really critical there as well. So it really helps your school and your community be able to address food insecurity. And then on top of that, there's a lot of families who are eligible to receive extra grocery benefits through the pandemic EBT program. And that's tied directly to eligibility for free and reduced school meals. So it's really critical that families fill out that form. It's really easy to do. I'm sure Melanie can share more about how families in her district can fill out the form. There's also a statewide online application. So there's lots of options. We've tried to make it really easy. We've worked with our state government to make sure it's really easy for families to fill the form out and make sure that their school has all the data they need, so that the school can get the federal funding they need and families can get the grocery benefits that I know they're really relying on right now.
Let's start there then with you, Melanie. What are you engaging in up in the Valley to ensure that those forms get appropriately filled out so that these critical support programs can continue to come to your districts?
So what we have done is I printed out all of the forms with the guidelines. We sent them home all in their beginning of the year packets. We have sent memos home. We are using the online forms. We are doing everything we can to remind the parents to please fill out the applications, because it doesn't just help your child, it helps the entire school district.
Great. Now I'm anxious to hear, my stomach's already grumbling, and I'm sure it's going to be even more so after you share with me all of the great innovative things that you're doing. I know farm to table is a critical part of it. So take a few moments here to talk about some of the great things that you're doing up in the Valley schools to ensure not only healthy and nutritious meals are served, but that they are sourced locally.
So I started doing farm to school quite a while ago. It was when I was in New Sweden, but as I've come up here and things have, materialized with COVID, and I'm more apt to work with farm to school because helping your local farmer also helps your school. So I, through the summer meal program, I purchased every berry that you can imagine. I purchased Haskell berries. I purchased raspberries, blueberries, strawberries. I purchased zucchini. I've purchased cucumbers. I actually just ordered my second set of cattle to be taken to the USDA slaughterhouse. And the closest one is in Crystal, one for each district. We did that in January of last year. And the kids prefer the local fresh meat versus anything else. It didn't take long for them to pick up on it. And we've done a lot with that.
That's fantastic. So what kind of things are you serving? Are you trying new recipes as a result of some of these locally sourced foods?
So every year I introduce new recipes to my staff. We have a workshop day and I'll be like, so we're going to try this today, or we're going to try that. So right now my menu is like a 3-month rotating menu, because that's how many things I try.
I'm used to a 4-week rotating menu. 3 months is impressive.
Yeah. I introduced lasagna soup last year, so that was something different. We make beef lo mein we use the stew beef from the cattle that we had, and we made our own beef lo mein. So we're always trying new things. I have new things on the menu coming up for them to try. We'll see how the kids like it, at least we try. But I'm always implementing new things. We now have a smoothie bar in each of my middle high schools for grades 6 to 12. I have a iced coffee bar, for grades 9 through 12. So we're always doing something new.
It sounds exciting. And, I must say we have some new exciting partnerships with our early care and education programs up in the Valley schools. And I think I'm going to have to make a point of visiting them at around lunchtime just to be able to go and sample some of the yummy things that you're talking about. I did want to connect briefly with both of you. One of the reasons you're on the program today is because of some of the collaborative work that we do with our 5210 Let's Go program. And I know, Melanie, there's a lot of initiatives and you regularly are meeting with folks. Tell us about the work that you do with ACAP's 5210 Let's Go program. I'll start with you, Melanie.
So all of the Aroostook County Food Service directors are invited every 3 months to meet with Renee. We talk about the new things that are going on, how we're implementing new things. We encourage each other to try things. And we also, at one of our meetings, we all sat around together at the tables and we contacted David Hartley and we decided to do the Special Provision 2 program. So like this year, there's like 4 or 5 of us food service directors that have signed up this year that had never done it before.
What does that mean, Melanie? I'm not sure I'm familiar with that program, and our viewers, I'm guessing, aren't either.
Okay, so Special Provision 2, you know how we are always stressing people to turn in their free and reduced or meal applications. So Special Provision 2 is a program that the state has that you collect your applications the first year, which is your base year. Then you do not have to collect them years 2, 3, and 4. So we all sat around, did a conference call with David, and he discussed it with us. And by the time we were done, I think there was 6 school districts that signed up when we left there.
That's great. Great. And I want to get your thoughts both about what you just heard Melanie talk about some of the really great innovative things, including some local sourcing that she's doing for food in the cafeteria. Also, your partnerships. I know that we've been very close partners between ACAP and Full Plates, Full Potential, and any things that we've not talked about that you want to make sure we talk about as well.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you just saw my eyes light up. I'm very excited to hear that Melanie and a bunch of other directors up in the county are using a special provision that's really going to help with that issue around applications. So good job, Melanie, and thanks for doing that. And the farm to school work is so important. We've worked hard with a lot of partners throughout the years to make sure that Maine has a farm to school incentive fund. So any local products, including protein, dairy, grains, produce, fish, all sorts of great local Maine products, school nutrition programs can get $1 back for every $3 they spend. So, it's been really wonderful to see how much local food is being served in cafeterias. As Melanie said, it's good for the kids, and it's also really good for the local agricultural economy. So very excited to hear all about that. And I might have to make a drive up and try some lunch at some point as well.
Pick me up on the way.
I will, absolutely. And, I think this school year is going to be interesting. I think this will be the most, back to normal. I don't know that we'll ever be back to the way things used to be, but, we'll have more kids in classrooms, hopefully fewer interruptions because of the pandemic. It is ongoing, but it does seem like something that at this point we're all learning to live with. And so, it'll be really amazing to see, as a result of the pandemic, school nutrition programs were put in the spotlight and people saw how important they are and how valuable they are. And so I'm really excited to see what we can do now that people know that these are really critical to so many kids across the state. So, I'm just thrilled to be able to work with Melanie and all of her colleagues all over the state to make sure that kids are fed every day. They are truly superheroes. And I guess just the final thing I want to mention is that anyone that wants to help get the word out to families that it's still important to fill out the school meal benefit form can use some really helpful materials that we've put together in partnership with folks at Let's Go 5210 and SNAP Ed and many others across the state. So those materials are available on our website. People can go to fullplates.org/toolkit, and there are toolkits available right now in English. They'll be coming soon in 10 other languages, and they're going to be available both as a ready-to-use version and also can be customized. So some school districts have their own unique way that they'd like families to fill out the school meal benefit form. So if people want to help, materials are available. You can get posters printed at no charge, hang them up all over your communities. It's really, really important that we get the word out to families to fill out those forms this year.
Indeed. Melanie, last word is yours. Anything that we didn't talk about you want to make sure people know?
I actually have a school food pantry for my Valor Unified kids. It's housed out of the Wisdom High School. So that's always a plus. It helps, for the kids that we worry about on the weekends, we have things available for them. We do both food box distribution and backpacks. So all they have to do is contact me.
Great, glad you added that because those are very important programs. I know that ACAP and a myriad of other partners across the county do these community cupboards where people who just, can leave what they can, take what they need is the philosophy behind them. And so those are critically important to helping people meet their immediate food insecurity challenges. And so thank you for your great efforts, and thank you so much for all you're doing at Full Plates, Full Potential statewide. And I appreciate you both being my guests on this week's edition of ACAP Today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason.
And lastly, our throwback snapshot of the week. This week, we take you back to 1993 and to the community of Holton. This was where the then ACAP Family Planning Clinic, ACAP no longer offers family planning services. Those were taken back by the state and now are done directly by the state. But in 1993, when ACAP was doing family planning, we moved to this location at 59 Bangor Street in Holton. That's 59 Bangor Street in Holton. ACAP's now at the location at 91 Military Street in Holton. Our services there, both early care and education, and our other services, our community services, are all offered at that 91 Military Street location, with the exception of our services that are offered for early care and education at the Southern Heuristic Vocational Educational Center, Region 2 School of Applied Technology, up in the Bird Street area next to the Holton High School. But again, we thank our staff at the Holton Center who worked with us for many years on family planning and across Aroostook County for that matter. And we applaud their efforts and our efforts of our 200 employees across Aroostook County. But this takes us back to 1993, when again, the ACAP Family Planning Clinic was relocated to 59 Bangor Street in Holton. And with that, that's this week's edition of ACAP Today. A sincere thanks to my guests who joined me to talk about a very important topic, and that's, of course, the nutritional security of our most precious resource, our children. We'll be back next week with another edition of ACAP Today. Until then, have a great week, everyone.